Halo Sobat IMAPS, gimana kabar kalian? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Aku pengen menyampaikan di sini kalau IMAPS tuh punya dua kompetisi yang seru banget dan sayang untuk kalian lewatin. Yang pertama, kita punya ITMIT, IMAPS 3-Minute Thesis Competition. Jadi nanti kalian akan membawakan tesis kalian di depan para juri. Acara ini terbuka loh teman-teman, bebas untuk semua mahasiswa dari seluruh universitas di Indonesia. Yang kedua, kita punya kompetisi ITSI, IMAPS Case Study Investigation. Nah, untuk temen-temen nih yang dari kecil suka nonton film detektif mungkin, atau kalian suka problem solving, cocok banget untuk kalian tuh ikut kompetisi ini. Jadi, nanti teman-teman akan diberikan sebuah case, lalu kalian akan membacakan case tersebut yang nantinya akan dipresentasikan di depan para juri. Seru banget kan? Tunggu apa lagi? Yuk daftarkan diri kalian segera. Halo Sobat IMAPS, gimana kabar kalian? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Aku pengen menyampaikan di sini kalau IMAPS tuh punya dua kompetisi yang seru banget dan sayang untuk kalian lewatin. Yang pertama, kita punya ITMIT, IMAPS 3-Minute Thesis Competition. Jadi nanti kalian akan membawakan tesis kalian di depan para juri. Acara ini terbuka loh teman-teman, bebas untuk semua mahasiswa dari seluruh universitas di Indonesia. Yang kedua, kita punya kompetisi ITSI, IMAPS Case Study Investigation. Nah, untuk temen-temen nih yang dari kecil suka nonton film detektif mungkin, atau kalian suka problem solving, cocok banget untuk kalian tuh ikut kompetisi ini. Jadi, nanti teman-teman akan diberikan sebuah case, lalu kalian akan membacakan case tersebut yang nantinya akan dipresentasikan di depan para juri. Seru banget kan? Tunggu apa lagi? Yuk daftarkan diri kalian segera. Halo Sobat IMAPS, gimana kabar kalian? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Aku pengen menyampaikan di sini kalau IMAPS tuh punya dua kompetisi yang seru banget.
Hari ini IMAPS lagi ngadain program Academics Sit-in and Campus Tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari MAN 2 Sleman.
Lucu banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Rustanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMAPS.
Masuk di IMAPS, kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMAPS? Jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 lah.
Sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys, dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMAPS gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMAPS gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMAX ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih. Hai guys, hari ini IMAP lagi ngadain program academics sit-in and campus tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari Man 2 Sleman.
Lucu banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Rustanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMAP.
Masuk di IMAX kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMAX, jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 lah.
Kalau sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys. Dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMAX gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMAX gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMAX ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih. Hari ini IMAP lagi ngadain program academics sit-in and campus tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari Man 2 Sleman.
Lucu banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Rustanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMAP.
Masuk di IMAX kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMAX, jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 lah.
Kalau sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys. Dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMAX gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMAX gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMAX ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih. guys, hari ini IMF lagi ngadain program academics sit-in and campus tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari MAN 2 Sleman.
Kecil banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Rustanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMF.
Masuk di IMF, kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMF? Jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 lah.
Sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys. Dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMF gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMF gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMF ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih. Hari ini IMF lagi ngadain program academics sit-in and campus tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari MAN 2 Sleman.
Kecil banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Rustanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMF.
Masuk di IMF, kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMF? Jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 lah.
Sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys. Dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMF gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMF gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMF ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih. Hari ini IMF lagi ngadain program academics sit-in and campus tour. Jadi di sini tuh banyak banget program-program gitu dan ini salah satu programnya. Dan sekarang kita mau wawancarain peserta yang ikut program ini. So, mari kita lihat. Hai Hai guys, sekarang aku lagi sama siapa namanya?
Afan Hukama Hairista Rahmatullah dari Man 2 Sleman.
Lucu banget, kamu kecil banget. Aduh jatuh. Kamu namanya siapa?
Ristanti Rahmi, SMA Muhammadiyah 2 Yogyakarta.
Saya Muhammad Sultan Izadin, bisa dipanggil Sultan. Saya dari SMA Muhammadiyah 1.
Gimana tanggapannya tentang kampus ini?
Jujur sih kalau tanggapan saya, ya tertarik sih saya untuk mengikuti IMAPS.
Masuk di IMAPS kayak berapa persen gitu keinginannya buat masuk di IMAPS? Jujur-jujur aja sih.
60 nih.
Sejauh ini sih masih 50.
50% ya. Mantap sih.
Menarik sih itu program-programnya.
Menarik.
Ya seru aja. 50 ya?
50% ya. Oke deh, ntar kamu ikut kayak belajar kan di kelas. Keren banget loh guys. Dia bisa kayak ngerasain gimana sih belajar di IMAPS gitu. Jadi dia kalau suka jadi bisa daftar di IMAPS gitu kan. Semoga kamu nantinya jadi masuk IMAPS ya.
Terima kasih, Mbak.
Makasih.
Assalamualaikum, brother. Assalamualaikum, brother Ali. Yes. Suara. Good morning, good afternoon. Dia nggak dengar suara saya. Good afternoon, brother Ali.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Because
Oh.
now it's 10 o'clock.
Oh, 10 o'clock in Oman.
That's good.
Okay. How's everything in Oman?
Well, Alhamdulillah, everything is fine. What about you and Indonesia?
Yeah, it's getting better and better at the moment in Indonesia. And then, yeah, mostly our school we are conducting offline at the moment. How about in your school?
Well, Alhamdulillah, everything is fine.
Okay, so now it's already 1:08. Probably, is it possible if we started by now?
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. After this, I will hand over to my master of ceremony, and then she will guide us what to do next. Okay, Sabila, can you please start this event? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Radian. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to Mr. Muhammad Ali Bait Ali Sulaiman, PhD. My name is Salsabila. As a staff at IMAPS Faculty of Economics and Business of Muhammadiyah, I feel honored on this beautiful day to be your Master of Ceremony on this very special occasion, the guest lecture of Entrepreneur course. First of all, let's recite our gratefulness to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us His grace in the form of guidance, happiness, healthy, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this special event without any obstacles. Salawat and salam upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who had brought us from the path of darkness to the path of light. I also would like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Ali Bait Ali Sulaiman, PhD, as our speaker today. Mr. Muhammad Ali is an experienced assistant professor of business with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry, skilled in e-learning, data analysis, lecturing, public speaking, and curriculum development. Strong consulting professional with a Doctor of Philosophy. Focus in business administration from the University of Damascus. Second, I also would like to welcome Mr. Radian Dananjoyo, PhD, as our moderator today. and all of our enthusiastic audience. Welcome. Before we really start, let me pass a quote from Jalaluddin Rumi. You are not a drop in the ocean, but you are the entire ocean in a drop. Don't you think that is a beautiful quote? This means that the entire possibility of the world resides inside of you. And it's a powerful realization because in it, we know that we are capable of what we desire and destiny. On this special event, we have several agenda as follows. First is opening. Second is material about managing risk in the entrepreneurial organization that will be delivered by Muhammad Ali Bait Ali Sulaiman, PhD. Third is discussion that will be guided by Mr. Radian as our moderator. And fourth is closing. Well, first, let's begin this event by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Move on to the next agenda is main topic that will be delivered by our speaker, Mr. Muhammad Ali Bait Ali Sulaiman, PhD. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Are you ready, Mr.?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me share first the. Can I share my PowerPoint?
Okay, sure. Wait a minute, please. Mr. Ali, you can share your PowerPoint.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So is it visible now to you?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, well, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to all. I'm really honored to be your guest today to give a lectures on how to managing the risk in the entrepreneurial organization. So first we start with the agenda and the ground rules, and then the introduction. So the objectives of this webinars is to identify the common risks associated with an entrepreneurial organization, and then identifying the external and internal factors which affect the risk of an entrepreneurial organization, and also identify the situations which may cause risk from an entrepreneurial organization as well, and also identify the common warning signs for or of risk for an entrepreneurial organization, and also implement and monitor and evaluate a risk management plan for an entrepreneurial organization. So these are the objectives of the webinar today. So what do you know about and what do you learn about risk management? So what is risk management? How we can define risk management? So risk management is identifying those areas of threats to the business. So through risk management, we usually identify those risks or threats that might have for the business, as well as assessing the potential impacts and managing those threats that have on the business level. And then what are the growth and continued existence of the business. So how we can continue and how we can grow business. So throughout these lectures, we will identify those risks and those threats that facing businesses, and in particular those small and medium enterprises or entrepreneurial organizations, to assess those impacts and how to manage them and how to grow a business as well. So here we have what is the positive situations or opportunity can we think about that may be a risk for your organization. So we have two types of risks. The first one, we have the internal risks, and then we have an external risks facing the organization. So the first one is the internal risks. What are the internal risks that face organization or entrepreneurial organization? And here in particular, you are talking about small businesses. So these risks or internal risks are like the death of the owner of the business. Usually, as you know, these small businesses are owned usually by one person. And if this person dies, then the whole business is finished. So the first internal risk of a business is the death of the owner or death of one or more employees, because this will affect the business in general. Because most of these businesses are depending on a small number of people, usually the owner and one employee, two employees, etc. So this is one threat or one risk associated with those small businesses. The second risk or internal risk is the illness. So sometimes the owner of the business or the employees of a business get ill or get some sort of or some kind of illness. It could be in the short term, and it could be in a long term. And sometimes it will be for forever, like those chronic diseases, for example. So this is represent also a threat for a business as well, either in the short term or in the long term or forever. So these are some internal risks associated with those small businesses. Also, we have some threats, what we call the human risks, okay, such as the theft or fraud. So that here we have either the product or inventory theft by employees or some employees. They are doing these wrong practices in their businesses. So they are stealing something from business, or they are conducting what we call a fraud acts, for example. Sometimes they are playing with the timesheet of the business. So that timesheet fraud also another risk associated with those small businesses. And these risks, they can have very severe effects on the businesses, as well as those accounting and cash fraud as well. So some employees, they may have these practices in their businesses. Low moral or dissatisfaction also, it can take place in those businesses, so that employees, because they are earning less than the standard salaries or wages in the market, so that they will not be satisfied in their businesses, so that they may cause a failure in performance. Their performance will be low. And then sabotage of the system, so that they're causing sabotage for some systems which exist in those small businesses, or some equipment as well, or they do it for some customers as well. Also, regarding the equipment and information technology risks, those associated with the equipment breakdowns, so that sometimes we have new equipment integrations, or the worn of old what equipment, or the damage to vehicles as well. So all these risks caused by also by somewhat employees as well. Coming to information technology downtime, so that the lack of backup or recovery what systems. So because those small businesses, they don't have the financial capabilities, so that they don't have the ability to back up or recover their what systems. And this is very dangerous for those what businesses. If they are not able to back up or recover those systems, they may lose them, and this will affect the business in a large scale. Updates also, sometimes they are not updating their systems. They are not able to repair their systems because of the financial capabilities they have. The power and connectivity, so that those physical damage or outdated systems, they might what take place in those what businesses. They may have some physical damage of some systems they have, or those systems, they are outdated. They are not able to update their systems because of the financial capability as well, as we said. And also they have the lack of administrative what control. They are not able to control what their businesses in the administrative what aspects. Other risks also associated with the small businesses or entrepreneurial organization, those physical plants what repairs, so that the breaks in the lines of or utilities in those businesses, sometimes we have some breaks in some lines or some utilities, and they are not able to fix it or repair it in the time span they have. Or the routine maintenance. If they have routine maintenance, it will go for sometimes for days, and this will cause them what a lot of losses in the short term. Also, sometimes we have some incidents like work-related what injuries for some employees, or damage to other companies or other what people, or property by our employees, or sometimes damage of our property by what by others. So in these circumstances, also the production line will stop because of this damage, either for our property or for other properties, and then this will encounter us a lot of what expenses as well. Also, other risks associated with those businesses are the cash flow what changes, so that the cash in and cash out of those what businesses. Most of those entrepreneurial what and small and medium enterprises, they are not able to manage their cash flow, the cash in and cash out. That's why some financial institutions like banks, they are reluctant to give them cash or to give them what loans, because they are not able to manage their cash flow, either those cash in and cash out. So the changes of the cash in and cash out, this is another what risk for those small businesses. Sometimes they have what a lot of cash, and sometimes they don't have. Unexpected costs, like the cost of raw materials, when the prices goes up, so they are not ready for this additional costs. For example, the cost of the fixed cost like electricity, water, whatever, if it's raised, then they don't have what the capability to cope up with such situation. So these are unexpected costs, also has an effect on these what prices, enterprises. Lose of credit lines. So sometimes they are losing the credit line because they don't have a good relations with the lenders for the banks and the other financial what institutions. So they are losing their what credit lines as well. The expenses also to establish a new lines of what of credits. Also, this is another what issue for these what enterprises. So what other internal risks or can business what owners control? This is a question as well. So as for the external what risks, external risks such as what the competition in the market. So the competition, the loss of what clients or customers. So this is another threat or risk for those what businesses because of the intensive what competition in the market. So they are losing their what clients or customers. Sometimes they are losing their own employees as well because of the competitive what wages and salaries in the industries from other what competitors in the market. So they are losing what their employees. The decrease in the sales prices, the fluctuating what market. So the market is also what fluctuating all the time, and the prices also fluctuating of the sales. This also will affect them. The increases also in the vendor what costs, as well as the oil and gasoline what prices what increase. This also will affect what those businesses. So these another what threats for those small and medium what enterprises. The fixed costs also, which will change all the time, such as the rent as well. This has also another negative impact on those what organization or businesses. Coming to the business environment also risks, the change in laws and regulations imposed by the government in the market also has a negative impact also on what those businesses. The change in weather, the natural disasters as well has an impact or risks on those what businesses and the communities as well. So take here, for example, if you own a steakhouse and attendant meat scarce in your area, change what the demand. How do you manage these risks and control its effects? So this is another threat. So here, definitely you will lose your customers. Personal conflict risk also, we have the family obligations, the illness or death of one family members, for example. This has also an impact on doing your business, how to balance between your business and your family issues. So family obligations represent also a negative impact on the businesses, and the event of disasters also has an impact on those businesses in a negative way, and how to recover from such disasters. The community involvement also, how to involve the communities in your businesses, and complacency as well, to what extent you are satisfied with yourself. So these some personal conflicts, risk associated with those businesses. So what is required for a business in order to continue operations in the market? Here we have the risk identification. First, you have to write a business plan. So writing a business plan is a way of reducing risks. How to reduce the risks, how to manage the risk in those entrepreneurial organizations. The first step by writing a business plan. Writing a business plan represent like what we call a roadmap for a business. So by writing this business plan, you will be able to reduce the risks or threats associated with doing a business, as well as the outside sources. You can get the help of outside sources in order to assist you, in order to identify those risks and threats and try to minimize them. The risks of your vendors or suppliers. Also, if you have not maintained a good relationship and long-lasting relationship, or sometimes a partnership with your suppliers, this will affect your business badly. So you should create a reliable and long-lasting relationship and maintain it with your suppliers for long period of time. And you have to form what we call like a partnership with them. Business community assessment. Also how to gradually continue to assess those threats and weaknesses of your business and how to overcome them. So this is related to the risk identification. Here we have some warning signs of what threats or risks. You have to keep an eye on them in order to figure out or know in advance that there will be risks of your business or associated with your business. The first sign of a risk associated with business is an excessive debt in relations to the owner equity. So that here you have to look at your total liabilities over your owner's equity. If the liability is more than the owner equity, so this is a sign of a risk. So you have to keep an eye on this, and you have to try to minimize those liabilities and be aware that some risks are ahead. The second sign of a risk is the reliance on a small number of customers. So you cannot in any way, as running a business, you cannot concentrate on a small number of customers. This is very risky for you. You have to retain your customers. You have to satisfy your customers. You have to keep your customers, but at the same time, you have to try all the time to attract new customers. Reliance on a small number of customers, this is a dangerous strategy because those customers will not remain with you forever. At any time, they can switch to competitors. So you have to find a way how to expand your customers, or the number of your customers, and don't rely on a small number of customers, because this is a risky strategy. Reliance on one product. You cannot continue relying on one product in order to succeed. You have to diversify the products. You have to have assortment of products, because if there is a low demand in one product, there will be a high demand on other products. So that if you have a number of products here, you can distribute the risk among those products. So reliance on one product, this is another sign of risk that you will have in the future, because demand on one product will be fluctuating over time. So you cannot rely on one product. This is another sign. Another sign of risk or warning sign is the reliance on one or small number of vendors or suppliers. Also, you cannot rely on one suppliers only. You have to have a number of suppliers, and then you have to evaluate those suppliers and see who are the more competent and reliable suppliers, and then you have to make with them like a partnership for a long period of time. So sometimes some organizations, they are not getting only profit out of selling their product, but also profit sometimes came from good relationship with suppliers. If you have a good relation with suppliers, they will offer you good prices, and from there you can make also profit. So profit does not come only from the sales of product, but also from having a good relationship with suppliers. So you should not rely on one or small number of suppliers. You have to expand the number of suppliers. So this is another way of knowing that you are at risk. So these are some signs that telling you that you are at risk now or in the near future. Another sign is the cash flow problems. If you have cash flow problems, the cash in and cash out, also this is another sign of a risk which will take place in the near future. So you have to be able to manage your cash flow very well in order to avoid any problems in the future. Also, irregularities in the accounting or bank or time cards records, also another sign of risks that will take place in the future. So you have to manage your accounting You should have an accounting practices in place. And also you should have and keep records of all your transactions in a good manner. And this will help you also to obtain credit from banks. If you keep records or accounting records, this will enable you in the futures to get loans from banks as well. Irregularities in the computer systems also, an administrative report. So this is another sign of having risks, either now or in the future. High employees turnover rate. If you have more employees are resigning from your organizations and going to competitors, this is another sign of of risks. So you are losing those who are competent, those who have skills, those who are running your business. Because in some businesses, especially in the service businesses, we are depending heavily on in human resources. And if the turnover rate is high, this is another sign that you are going to face difficulties and tough time in the future. So this is another sign of having risk either now or in the future. As for the risk evaluation, how to evaluate risk, first we have to identify those needs for a business continuity. So how to continue the business? We have to see what we need in order to continue business in the future. We have to identify those needs for potential or planning growth. So how we can grow in the future, we have to plan this. And then we have to discuss the risks with the managers. So all managers in the business should be aware of those risks. We should not hide risks. We should not cover up them. We have to be more transparent, and we have to discuss all the risks with our managers. All managers should be aware of those risks associated with business in order to try to avoid them. We have to communicate risks also to managers. Everyone should be in the same pictures. So everyone should know what is going on in the business. Also, we should conduct a SWOT analysis in order to see where we are now or where we are heading in the future. So this is also a very important issue. We have to see our strength, our weaknesses, what are the opportunities over there in the market, and what are the threats. Conducting a SWOT analysis is the best way in order to find out what those risks associated with business now and in the future as well. Other resources also, a small business administrations, audit firms. We can get the help of audit firms. We can get the bank or commercial lenders also to help us, and especially in the financial aspects of the business. Those risk insurance providers, okay, we can deal with those insurance company in order to reduce the cost or the risks associated with business, and the internet sources that can help us also to find out those risks. Also, we can have the effects on the potential earning and cash flow, the impacts on the business for the future growth. What are the impact on the business in order to find it for the future growth of the business? What are the costs related to the risks? Should it occur or not? So we have to see and figure out what are those risks associated with our business and how it's represent a risk for us. And we have to ask ourselves, should it be occurred or not? And what would change in the business as a result of this? Will the business be affected? Will be changed? How it will be changed, in a positive way or a negative way? And also we have to see the winning cost of versus the benefits of the control. The importance of risk management, why we should manage the risks in the entrepreneurial organization. The first benefit of managing risks in order to control the cash flow, so that cash flow in and out of the business. And this is very essential for the growth of the business, for stability of the business, and for dealing with also with lenders and financial institutions like banks and other financial institutions. Managing the risks in the organizations also make the business stable in the long run. So here we have maintaining stability of the business, and also it helps us in maintaining a good relationship with those financial institutions in order to get what? To get credit from them. Also, it helps us in longevity as well. So as for the risk control management and implementation, so that the equipment and vendors, here we have to have an inclusions of initial written business plan. We have to include all these risks in our business plan, as well as the readiness. We have to readdress and monitors and update the business plan periodically. So it's not always the case of writing a business plan and leave it. We have to revisit the business plan from one time to another. We have to readdress those risks now in the futures as well. And we have to monitor them, and we have to update our business plan periodically. Also, we have to ensure the equipment and the use of service plan in the business. Also, we have to know the suppliers, and vendors and suppliers as well. As also, we have to back up the relationship with them in all time. As for the business continuity, we have the locations to continue the business operations, so that we have to concentrate more on the locations, because locations is very important for us and represent a competitive advantage for a business. Also, beside the electronic, we have to establish what we call a manual system. This manual system will help us if we have a breakdown in the electronic system, so that we can use the manual system as well. So that we have to have two types of systems in place. One electronic system, and the other one is a manual system. We have to train our staff to continue operations, continuing training of the staff. This will guarantees the continuity of the business as well. Also, we have to have a backup operation systems in order to continue to guarantee the continuity of business, and it will not break down at any time. So that we have to list all the staff duties and contacts as well, and we have to review the contracts with vendors, and for provisions with suppliers, we have to review it from time to time to get more advantage from those vendors and suppliers as well. We have to know the systems providers backup and the contingency operational plan, so that we should have more than one plan. So we have to have more than one scenario. So we should have a plan A, plan B, plan C, whatever, so that we can shift between plans and contingency operation plans when it is needed. As for the information technology systems, so we should not share the login information with others, because this represents a long risk for us if we share the login information with others. So we should not do this. We have to protect the systems with firewalls, so that nobody can access them without our consent. We have to institute levels of access, so that we should not have just one level of access for all employees. So that in order to protect our systems, we should have levels of access. Also, we have to perform other reports as well, and sample transactions or the use of trial transactions as well, and conduct the schedules and surprise audit for employees or staff of the business as well. As for the competition, we cannot all the time deal with the competition in a proper way, so that we have to be able how to deal with them, either by shop them or checking what advertisings in order to see what other competitors are doing, what their strategies, and how we can tackle these competitions, what are the product lines they have, what are the pricing strategy also they have, how they interact with customers, how retain their employees as well. All of these issues will help us in order to deal with the competition in the market. Okay, as for the accounting and cash flow control, we should have separations of duties for all employees we have. We have to have a dual control of cash. So it should not be one person's who check or control the cash, but we have to have different levels of checking. We have to have a levels of authority observed, different level of authority also in order to control the decision making also inside those businesses. And also we should have a periodic audits. So from time to time, we have to have some audits looking after our records. And so also we have to do what we call a surprise audits also. If we go only for scheduled audits, so that those employees will know in advance that there will be an audit, but also from time to time, we have to surprise them from what we call a surprise audits. And also we have to ensure deposit and plan for services in the budget as well. As for the employees management in those businesses, we have to conduct what we call a pre-employment screening and background checking, especially for those businesses, which is what we call depends heavily on human resources, so that we have to be very careful in choosing our employees, because our business is depending on them, so that we have to hire those who are competent, those who are skilled. Those will help us in order to continue and growth in the future. And those also we have to conduct what we call a job descriptions and duties, so that every employees know in advance and exactly what their job and what they have to do exactly. And we have to communicate with them clearly in order to get their expectations. And then we have to train them. From time to time, we have to offer them training courses that in order to develop their skills and ability in order to do the business in a good way. As well as identifying the temporary agencies that specialize in our field. So that we have to see what are these agencies which are specialized in our field and get their help and assistance. Also, we have to have periodic evaluations and feedback from time to time as well. So as for employees management, we have to manage by being present or walk around, so that we have to be with our employees. We have to manage in a way that we have to be close to our employees. We have to be present with them. We have to walk around them. And also we have to have audit for payroll and for time fraud as well. So in order to eliminate or stop any fraud practices that take place in our business. And then also we have to look at the benefits of compensations for retentions of the employees. So we have to offer our employees some benefits or compensations in order to retain them and keep them in our business. Because sometimes the core business of some organizations are employees, so that we have to compensate them and give them some benefits in order to retain them and keep them in the business. Also, we have some incentives we have to give them in order to avoid injuries or damages as well, caused by the organization or by themselves. So here we have the business work strategy. How can you manage your own risks? How we can manage the risk? First, by setting work hours, a clear schedule for our employees, illustrating the work hours for each one of them. We have to plan work with a balance, so that an employee should have a balance between life and work, because those employees also, they have families and they have to live their lives, so that there should be some sort of balance between work and personal life. And also we have to be realistic and set a realistic goals, those goals that can be achieved. Yes, we can set sometimes a challenging goals, but those goals should not be impossible to achieve. We have to have those goals which is be achieved and realistic. We have to train also the support service or support staff or an assistants. Those will help us in order to do the work. They should be trained. And we have to include the disabilities or death in the business plan as well. So this is a reality of life. So some people will be disabled, some people will be die. So that this has to be illustrated or has to be included in the business plan as well. We should have some support systems in place that help us and help employees as well. And also we have to anticipate those family and home needs and try to give some assistance to the employees. So here we have some controls like communication with the organization or inside the organization. We have to facilitate the communication. We have to have the routine assessment of the physical plant. What is the machineries, what the tools, equipment that need. We have to assess them all the time in a routine manner. And we have to be alert to the changes of the community and laws. What are the changes that take place in the community, in the behavior, in the laws and the regulations imposed by the government. We have to be aware of the new changes that take place in the economy, like what we are witnessing nowadays. We have many economical difficulties in most countries because of the world conditions that take place at that time. We have to know how to utilize the line of credit when it is needed and how we can utilize it and get the maximum benefit of those line of credits. We should not go for credit unless we need them, and we have to use them in a right way. We have to ensure against damages from the weather or disasters. And also finally, we have to back up utilities such as phones of generators, etc. So as leaders in those businesses, we have to lead by example. We have to be a role model for our employees, so that ethical and honest behavior will begin with the management. So as a manager or owner of the business, you have to be a role model, a leader. And in most cases, usually employees imitate their leaders. So you have to be an ethical leader, you have to be a role model for your employees. And then they will follow you as you are, they will be. Finally, we have to have an exit strategy. So if we are not able to survive in the market, then we have to exit. So how to exit the market? We should have an exit strategy in place. So here we have to include an exit strategy in the business plan. When we are writing the business plan, we should write also the exit strategy. At any time, we may discover that we are not in the right place, we are not in the right business, so that we have to exit. So we have to revisit it periodically. We have to revisit this exit strategy periodically and the business plan as well. Also, we have to make an insurance of the payment and liquidations of assets of our business. Liquidations of assets without insurance as well, either with insurance or without insurance. The trustees to handle as well. The family members, how our family will be affected by leaving the business or exit by exit strategy, or by finishing are putting an end to our business, how our family will be affected also. We have to think about our family and what our employees will do after we stop our business. So that we have to plan and manage the risks in order to succeed. Without managing those risks, we cannot succeed. We have to plan them, and we have to manage them as well. So here we have finally 8 key points in order to remember. There are internal and external risks associated with a small business or entrepreneurial organizations. Begin assessing the risks by completing a list of those events or resources involved with the business that could impact continued operations and cash flow. The costs to ensure and minimize the risks should be also weighted in order to the potential impacts involved, and a business continuity plan should be also part of your overall business plan. And strategies in order to avoid risks can also include communication, setting expectations, support systems, training of staffs, insurance, assessment of and contingency planning. You have to be honest in reviewing your business for risk and warning signs, and seek assistance from others. Also, an exit strategy is important and should be in the business plan. So I think this is what we have for today. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad Ali, for your knowledge and for your time today. Hopefully, it will be helpful for us, especially in this era, as you know, that digital era. So let me highlight a few things from your presentation that's very interesting today about risk management. It made us realize of how important risk management is, how important it is to recognizing threats early so that we can take a preventive action to reduce the chances of mistake in our business, and how important it is to plan and manage our business. So to make our business sustainable in the long term. Okay, moving to the next agenda is discussion that will be guided by Mr. Radian as our moderator. Mr. Radian, are you ready? Okay, Mr. Radian, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sabila. Yeah, it was a really interesting topic from Mr. Ali about how to deal with the risk in for the entrepreneur organization. I was writing some summary here. There are some points that we have to identify. The first one about we have to identify internal and external risk, and then we also have to understand about warning sign of risk. And then while while you are doing your own business, it means that we should be understand what is the internal risk, where is the external risk for us, for your business. For your information, Mr. Ali, at the moment, some of my students, they are doing the entrepreneur class. So during the entrepreneur class, they have to develop their idea, they have to develop their business plan, how to create a new business, how to create the idea to differentiate their business compared to the competitor. So I think it's a very good occasion for all of you to ask question for this topic. There is one question here from Elvira Yolanda Aprilia. She was asking about, is the role of consultant still needed in risk management? So if the consultant still needed, what is the role of the consultant in risk management? Mr. Ali, maybe you can come, you can answer, you can respond this.
Yes, we should have also consultant role, the consultant, because we are not able to see the whole pictures. When we are writing our business plan, we cannot see the whole picture. So that getting the help of consultant is very crucial and very important. Because a consultant, they can see from different angles, which we are not able to see when we are writing the business plan. And also consultants, usually they have long experience more than us. As an entrepreneurs, we are entering the market for the first time and we have no ideas, we have no expertise, no skills in writing what a business plan. So getting the help of consultant will help us in order to write a proper and good business plan that will help us in order to get financial assistance or loans from banks, because banks will not give loans without a proper business plan. If we don't have right business plan and written in a good manner and a good way, then we will not be able to get any financial resources from banks or other financial institutions. Yes, getting the help of other consultants is very crucial and very important, but sometimes it will cost us a lot in order to get those consultancy services. So if we are able to do it ourselves, then it's okay. If we are not able, we can get the help of those who are involved really in the business, or our teachers or professors at the university. If not, then we have to go to the external consultant who will help us. But we have to have also to incur some expenses as well.
Okay, that's very good. So Elvira, the role of consultant still important here, because while we're creating our business plan, maybe it will be better if we get another insight from external. So this is the role of consultant. Okay, next question is from Arisma.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunities. Hello, Mr. Ali. On the equipment and vendors, you said that in TPT we have to readdress, monitor, and update business plan periodically. My question is, which aspect part that we have to focus first on the readdressing the business plan if our business plan is off the mark?
If our business plan is what?
Is off the mark.
I'm not hearing the questions very well.
Okay. My question is, which aspect part that we have to focus first on the readdressing the business plan if our business plan is off the mark?
If the business plan is what?
Is off the mark, sir. Out of its course.
Because the voice is irritating, I cannot hear very well.
Okay, his question actually, he was asking about what is the first aspect that we have to consider while our business are not in the right track. So
in the right track.
Yeah.
So as I said before, we have to revisit our business plan again periodically, as we said. So from time to time, we have to make an assessment of risks. What are the risks that we are incurring now and in the futures? Okay, and we have to rewrite or readdress those problems that we are facing now and in the futures. So that visiting the business plan, it has to be periodical assignment. We have to go from time to time and visit it and see and assess the situation, what we are facing now, and how we can tackle this and how we can go forward in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ali.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question? Okay, maybe if there's no other question, I was interested with your statement about we should not rely on a single supplier. So while we are dealing about the supplier, which aspect that we have to talk with our supplier. Do we ask, is it more important to get the good price, or do we need to ask them to guarantee the supply of the product? Which one is more important for us as entrepreneur? To get the good price, or to get the product assurance, the product, the supply of the product assurance.
I think both of them are important. If we are able to get better prices from them, this will reflect in our profit as well. So we will get profit from selling the products as well as from getting a good price from the suppliers. So this is one thing. And assurance of reliable suppliers also, this is another benefit for us. So if we can get a reliable supplies, so this will affect, will be having a positive effect on our business in the future as well. So both of them, in fact, is very important. And we have to move from making relation to making a partnership with suppliers in the long run. This will assure our supplies will be on time when we need them, and at the same time we will get better prices will be reflected in our profit as well. So both of them, in fact, are very important.
Okay, nice. But again, related with the supplier, somehow, in the reality, we have to compete with our competitor. So, when we produce something, if we want to compete with our competitor, it means that we have to get the sustainable procurement. So how to get the sustainable procurement from our supplier? So it means that while we're producing something, we can compete with our competitor because we get the sustainable procurement from the supplier. So what is the best idea or the best action plan that we have to do to create the sustainable procurement?
As I said, we have to make a partnership with suppliers. By having only an ordinary relationship with supplier, this is not enough. If we are able to make a partnership with suppliers, this we can guarantee that our supplies will be guarantees for a long period of time. So we have to move from just making a good relation with suppliers to partnering with suppliers.
Okay, is there any other questions? Oh, another question in chat room from Jovan Ramadan. He was asking about the internal risk. He was asking the example of big organization about it. Can the organization predict? It means that maybe he was asking how can the organization predict about the internal risk? And then yeah, he was asking about the example of internal risk and how to predict the internal risk.
Did he write it in the chat? Did he write that?
Sorry?
Did he write the question in the chat?
In the chat room from Jovan. Is Jovan here? Probably it will be better if you can ask directly to Mr. Ali, because maybe...
How example from the big organization about it? Can the organization predict what? Predict the internal risk?
Probably. Is Jovan here? Is Jovan here? Can you please respond to Mr. Ali about this? Yeah, my assumption is predict about internal risk.
How to predict an internal risk?
Yeah.
I told you from the beginning, internal risk like death, for example, death of the owners, for example, okay, or illness of the owners or employees. So that If someone is ill, then this is represent also what risk for the organization. If somebody is what ill, so we can predict those what risks. So as you can see here, I mentioned the death of what the owners or employees, or the illness, either in the short term or long terms. So these some marks of what risks that may take place what in the near futures, as well as what those human resources, what risks. Those all internal, like theft, like fraud, okay, low moral dissatisfactions, or failure to perform. All of these what are an internal risks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is I think clear about internal risk from ourselves. So yeah, it's quite a little bit difficult to predict about this. Then we come up to the next questions. There's Regina.
Yes, sir. So, my name is Regina. I want to ask about if we do not rely on one single supplier, once we're dealing with supplier, should we focus them to provide good price or quality product supply?
Okay, is there any other question? Maybe those questions I have is already explained before by Mr. Ali about how he was already mentioned about both price and also supplier assurance are important aspect that we have to consider when we are dealing with the supplier. Any other question? Yeah, it's quite interesting here about the Mr. Ali regarding about dealing doing the entrepreneur activity. The according to my opinion, according to my experience, that as an entrepreneur, the most challenge for us, for internal challenge, is people. So somehow we can get the right people, but not in the right place. So how to make sure that our people is capable with their job?
As we said before, from the first minute we are choosing our employees, we have to make sure that we are hiring or employing those who are competence, those who are having skills and abilities from the first place when we are choosing those what employees. In order to avoid any problems later on, we have from the first place to choose the right people in our organization, especially when we are providing what services, because services, as I said, it depends heavily on human resources. If you are not able to find the right person for your organization from the beginning, then you will suffer later on. Like, for example, if you have a business in restaurant, for example, who is the most important person in a restaurant? Anyone can tell me? In a restaurant, who is the most important person?
Who is the most important a person in restaurant? Is there anyone can give you the opinion?
Maybe service attendant.
Sorry, what did you say, Mbak Naila?
Service attendants.
Service attendants.
Service attendants is the most important person.
Anyone else? Service attendants, do you mean is waitress or who? Waiters?
Yes, waiters, because they meet with the customer.
Okay. Anyone else?
Who's the most important person in a restaurant?
Who's the most important person in a restaurant? Dimas, Teguh. Do you have
The
any opinion?
business depends on whom in a business industry, in a food industry or restaurant industry. Who's the most important person? I think the chef, right? The one who's make the food, right?
Yeah, chef.
Yes or no?
Yeah. Do you agree that the one who make a food or chef is the most important person?
Yes, sir.
So if you don't have a good chef in the restaurants, then what will happen?
No one,
There will be
Do you
no
think we will
customer.
have customer?
no one
No.
coming.
Then
Yeah.
that's why you have to be very careful when choosing what your employees.
Yeah.
You have to hire those who are the right persons for what, for your business, because this your business, it depends on those people.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to we have to find the right people for our business. Once we are unable to get the right people, it means our business is they're not going running well. Okay. Is there any other question? If there is no other question, probably yeah, we can. This is the end of our guest lecture for today. Thank you for Mr. Ali for your great explanation about how to deal with the internal and external risks, how to deal with the exit strategy, and then how to deal with another activity like warning a sign for of a risk. So as my final remark here, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware about your business plan. Once you create your business plan, you should make a business plan as complete as possible. You should include everything in the business plan, including the internal and external risks and everything else. Yeah, probably the speech from Mr. Ali today can be useful for us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your great explanation. Is there any other remark from Mr. Ali regarding this class?
I can't hear your question. What did you say?
Is there any other the last remark that you can say here?
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm really honored by your invitation, and thank you all for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. And then I will go back this event to Master of Ceremony. Oh, before go back to Master of Ceremony, we have to use we can make a photo session. So can you please turn on your camera so we can make a photo session here? Thanks.
So everybody, please turn on your camera. One, two, three, smile. Again, one more time. One, two, three, smile. Okay. Okay, everybody. So this is the end of the agenda today. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad Ali, and thank you so much, Mr. Radian, and thank you for our enthusiastic audience. Finally, we come to the end of this event. So to close this event, let us recite Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Mr. Ali, can we have a copy of your presentation today so we can recall your insight in the future?
Inshallah, I will send it to Doctor. Inshallah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you very much.
everyone, thank you so much for attending this meeting and for your enthusiasm. See you in the next guest lecture. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Halo Sobat IMF, gimana kabar kalian? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Aku pengen menyampaikan di sini kalau IMF tuh punya 2 kompetisi yang seru banget dan sayang untuk kalian lewatin. Yang pertama, kita punya ITMIT, IMF's 3-Minute Thesis Competition. Jadi nanti kalian akan membawakan tesis kalian di depan para juri. Acara ini terbuka loh teman-teman, bebas untuk semua mahasiswa dari seluruh universitas di Indonesia. Yang kedua, kita punya kompetisi ITSI, IMF's Case Study Investigation. Nah, untuk temen-temen nih yang dari kecil suka nonton film detektif mungkin, atau kalian suka problem solving, cocok banget untuk kalian tuh ikut kompetisi ini. Jadi nanti teman-teman akan diberikan sebuah case, lalu kalian akan membacakan case tersebut yang nantinya akan dipresentasikan di depan para juri. Seru banget kan? Tunggu apa lagi? Yuk daftarkan diri kalian segera. Halo Sobat IMF, gimana kabar kalian? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Aku pengen menyampaikan di sini kalau IMF tuh punya 2 kompetisi yang seru banget dan sayang untuk kalian lewatin. Yang pertama, kita punya ITMIT, IMF's 3-Minute Thesis Competition. Jadi nanti kalian akan membawakan tesis kalian di depan para juri. Acara ini terbuka loh teman-teman, bebas untuk semua mahasiswa dari seluruh universitas di Indonesia. Yang kedua, kita punya kompetisi ITSI, IMF's Case Study Investigation. Nah, untuk temen-temen nih yang dari kecil suka nonton film detektif mungkin, atau kalian suka problem solving, cocok banget untuk kalian tuh ikut kompetisi ini. Jadi nanti teman-teman akan diberikan sebuah case, lalu kalian akan membacakan case tersebut yang nantinya akan dipresentasikan di depan para juri. Seru banget kan? Tunggu apa lagi?